Charlotte with a club record 4 straight victories, or as Dean Smith would say, 4 straight on the spin. Can we make it 5 this week? Find out on Charlotte's for the week. What is going on, everybody? Happy Friday, everybody's favorite day of the week. Why? Not because it's the last work day of the week, no, because you get to come here and watch some more Charlotte for the week. Isn't that right, Gabby?
That is right.
That is absolutely right. And so another great episode this week, a little bit different. Obviously, I think we talked about it last week, jumping into Leagues Cup, which is a little bit of a different format from the weekly grind of the MLS. More on that later, but just like I said, we'll kind of jump into things as we have them right now. We will go ahead and do the recap from last week. Obviously, Charlotte, another victory.
Great victory.
2-0 over Toronto FC this week. That makes actually 4-0 on the season because they beat them 2-0 in the away game as well. Club record 4 straight victories for the Crown, as they do as well, right? So congrats. Vibes are high all around the city right now, obviously, with how the team is playing. They've recaptured, whatever electricity they had at the beginning of the season and really, really playing well right now. Gabby, kind of pass it off to you. I don't know if there's anything you saw or any takeaways you had. I can, jump in as we go, but just curious, what you think of the game?
It was such a good game. I just think the energy in the stadium was it was really, really good. It honestly felt like it hasn't felt like that way in the stadium, and I feel like I know we've been on a really long away game, hiatus, so we haven't been in town really much. But I don't know, but just the energy just was there. It was high. It was
tangible. I think we all felt it.
It really was.
I agree.
And then obviously Vargas with the goal on his backflip day with the bobblehead.
Yeah, his bobblehead day. Y'all saw that in the teaser, my amazing beginning teaser, by the way. The backflip, there's the actual bobblehead itself, pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And that was your guy getting the goal there, second
really
goal.
Good.
And what an amazing string of photos that had you and Dustin in the background was hilarious.
I'm so embarrassed.
I thought it was great. I mean, it was all the emotions kind of in one. I sent you two, I think it was 5 or 6 photos in a row because it was all of his backflips kind of, or whatever, still shotted. And I thought the 2 I sent you were the perfect encapsulation of Dustin. Yeah. Just, kind of intense watching, excited, and then the next one, shirt off, of course. So I was like, that's Dustin to a T. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. Yeah. I thought it was great. You were pointing out Vargas, you're the man. I thought it was great. I love those photos.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get them in there. I don't know.
Yeah, we can throw them in there.
Yeah, definitely put a couple. I thought that was awesome to have you guys in the background of that shot.
Yeah, it was
and
hilarious.
Obviously for Vargas to get the goal on his bobblehead night was kind of the icing on the cake. A couple takeaways, not to be the bad guy, but a little bit of the bad guy of the episode, right? Just to kind of critique it the way that I saw. Couldn't agree more. I mean, the energy in the stadium was palpable, right? I mean, I think everybody was on just expecting a victory in this game, which is what happened. Everybody was excited, ready to watch, and obviously when the goals were scored, pandemonium everywhere, except in 233. More on that in a second. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if we go back and kind of peel the game back, I wasn't super impressed with the first half, which has been a growing theme recently, I think, for Charlotte.
I agree.
They've just started a little bit slower. And not that it's been bad. I mean, the defense from minute 0 to minute 90 was great. Shout out to Dilson Milanda. Shout out Tim Ream. They had a great game. They've had a string of great games together ever since Ream returned from international duty. He's been great back there with Milanda. Kalina barely had to, move an inch back there. There was a couple of, he caught a couple crosses. I'm saying that he didn't do his job, but at the end of the day, he had very little to do because the defense was so good from really the start of the game on. It never really felt like Toronto had a grasp on the game in terms of being able to score. They did have a decent amount of possession. I think in my preview, I said Charlotte would dominate possession. It's not exactly what happened. Actually, Toronto won the possession battle, but again, it was a bunch of passing around midfield. They were never able to really create much consistency moving forward against our defense. And again, the first half, while I thought our offensive players were pretty, I would say, timid, they just didn't really want to make mistakes. They started to obviously open that up in the second half, and that's where we saw the goals come in. I think the game plan obviously wasn't in the locker room, so I can't confirm this, but it just seems to me that the game plan was, hey, just you are better than this team. Don't make any mistakes and let your quality kind of come out on top. And that's exactly what we saw happen. They stuck together. They kind of hung in there. Defense was sound the entire game. And when quality needed to show up, it did, right? It showed up in the form of Toklamati again. His movement and his just understanding of where to run and where to be at the age of 20, 21 years old is really phenomenal. I mean, he got another, headed goal, just perfect place. Great pass by Bronico on that one for the header, for his goal to open up the scoring. And then again, a few minutes later, great pass from Zaha, saw the lane, acres of space for Vargas. Vargas comes in, finishes it. He shot it low. He told that to Dean Smith at the end. He's like, I kept it low, because he's been shooting everything a little bit high recently. We kept this one low, got it in the net. 2-0 victory, a thing of beauty. I don't know if you had anything else to add to that, but
kind of going back to your comment about the first half, it's funny because I was sitting there talking to Dustin, and I was like, honestly, when we were watching the game, I was like, I feel like they just need to get scored on right now, because the momentum that they were bringing, like, they were playing well, but they weren't playing like amazing. It wasn't mind-blowing. But it wasn't until that second half really when they kind of brought everything to the table, which was really nice to see. But no, I agree, the first half it was a little lax, but I mean, the guys got it together, and that's what matters. So
and I had even taken kind of a mental note, like maybe that, like, last year we had an identity, and I remember talking about our quote-unquote identity crisis when we were going through that slump in May of who is this team, like what are we? Are we offensive? Are we defensive? We can't figure it out. Whereas last year we knew, hey, we're a defensive team. We're going to hang our hat on that and hope the offense is good enough. And this year we've been trying to almost transition the other way and can't figure out who we are. I think if nothing else, over these last few games, and even some of the games where we were losing, we have certainly learned that this is a second half team, right? It seems like we go out in the first half of every game, and not that we're not trying to put our best foot forward, I'm sure we are, but it seems like just collectively in the Atlanta game, Toronto game, Orlando maybe not, we scored a couple goals early in that game, but for the most part it seems like we are kind of coming out just trying to figure out what the defense or what the other team's going to do to try to beat us. And then we go in at halftime, okay, this is what they're going to try to do. This is what we're going to do to counteract that. And it's working like a charm. So I don't see any reason to change that, right? Obviously, I'd like to see more fluidity, more creativity, more positiveness early in the game. Don't wait till the second half to do it every game, because goals just aren't going to always come. But at the end of the day, obviously it's working right now, and so I don't see much need to change it. But just, like I said, a touch of more positivity in the first half would be nice. The other thing I did want to go ahead and take note of, though, like I said, we got the Vargas backflip, yes, and then my celebration, guys, it's growing. So like I said, everybody, it was raucous around us when we get this first goal, but I'll send you the picture, Gabby, to put in there. Shout out my girl Caitlin Mateer. She sat next to me for the game, and she joined in the no hands first goal celebration, and that celebration's now 4-0, just like the team, right? So that is an undefeated celebration so far. So I think maybe, not maybe, I am a little bit responsible for this winning streak. If you want to Venmo me a little bit of money for the, being so gratuitous, wouldn't mind, but that's, we'll put the handle up and you can send me some money. It's okay. You don't have to.
We won't.
But if you want to, I probably won't. But hey, greasy wheel gets the grease. That doesn't sound right, but you guys know what I'm trying to say. The person that speaks out is the one that gets the money. So that's what I'm hoping for here. And that really, unless you had anything else to add, that's kind of all I had for the recap. Jump on into the next. So we don't have Charlotte for the week news for the week this week. there's just, frankly, not a lot to report on, right? I do have one little note in here. I changed this segment, at least for this week, to rumors. Because again, we are in that part of the season where, well, some of these rumors are now not rumors; they are done deals, right? So, but we'll get into those now. So, two huge signings in the MLS have one's happened, one is still in talks, so it's not done. This is filmed on Tuesday. By the time it comes out Friday, good chance it's done. But the one I'm talking about here, Heung-min Son. He plays for Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. One of my favorite players to watch in the Premier League. He is in very serious, deep discussions to join LAFC here in the next few days. I mean, I think everything's on. It's just a matter of negotiating the terms at this point. This guy's electric. This guy is a $20 million player still at probably I think he's 32, 33, so he's been around for a little while, but this guy tears up the Premier League. He's going to come into this league and make an instant impact. I can promise you that. He is a great player. Cool celebration, a goal celebration, something like this. You'll see it a few times, hopefully not against Charlotte. But so Heung-min Son, sorry for pronouncing your name the way I do. That's just how I talk. Come into the league, or at least it seems imminent that he will be on LAFC very shortly. And then the one that did get finalized today, a couple of hours before we even filmed this, Thomas Muller to Vancouver. Legendary player. I'm talking, this isn't just, hey, he played in Europe, so he's great. No, this player has won damn near everything there is to win in the world, right? I mean, he's won a World Cup. He's won a Champions League. He is the all-time appearance leader for Bayern Munich, a giant in European football. He is the Bundesliga's all-time leading assister. He is that type of player, and he is joining Vancouver, who obviously we've talked about quite a bit on this show. They've done very well, sitting in second place. Huge signing for them. I mean, obviously, he is up there in age as well. He's, I think, 35 at this point, but I promise you, he's still got the quality that's needed to play in this league. So those two players come into this league is huge news. Again, we're talking really and truly some players at the height of their career. They're top 1% players in the world, right? I mean, these are the best of the best we're talking about coming over to the MLS. Would love to see some come to Charlotte, but hey, nonetheless, they are coming to the MLS. Good to see that. Hopefully, Charlotte can kind of jump on the bandwagon and get a couple players themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of, we did have another player that was in the news this week, our one rumor of the week. Nothing new to report on the strikers we talked about last week, other than I think Charlie Kelman did sign somewhere else, so he can't come to Charlotte. But the other two players are still out there. Hadn't seen any other news for strikers for Charlotte this week. But a player by the name of Harry Toffolo, he was actually at the game Saturday. Saw pictures and everything. He is a player coming from Nottingham Forest, which is another Premier League side over in England. Left back. Would be a really good signing for Charlotte, to be honest. I mean, like I said, he's still younger too. I think 28, 29. So still got legs left, I would say, for sure. That's the latest report though, is that he was at the game, attending the game on Saturday, and we've been in talks with trying to get him to come over to sign with us. So don't know how real or fake that'll end up being, but it seems to be a legitimate option right there. So remember that name, Harry Toffolo. Fun to say, right?
Sure.
I didn't include you on the segment very much. So I just had to pop back in, make sure you were ready for the pass.
We all know you're the brains.
That is totally, yeah. If I'm the brains, we're in trouble. I can promise you that. But in any case, yeah, that's really all I had for the rumors, though. So again, Son to LAFC, Muller to Vancouver Whitecaps, and potentially Harry Toffolo to Charlotte FC. We'll see how that happens. All right, and jumping over to Around the League, one of everybody's favorite segments, except for Gabby right now on the screen here. Just kidding. So yeah, just looking at the scores from last week, the biggest game of the week, of course, was between Miami and Cincinnati. That ended in a 0-0 draw. Very controversial. Yeah, very controversial in a lot of ways. So obviously, Messi and Alba were both suspended for this game because they did not participate in the MLS All-Star game during the middle of the week. Coach thought it was more important to have them rest. Well, guess what? They got to rest for the entire game, as it turned out, because they did get suspended. So there was controversy there. Do what?
What are your thoughts on that, like suspension, because like they don't play in the All-Star game? Because I've heard a lot of different takes. So
yeah, there are. Yeah, it's obviously been a big back and forth this week. I was very glad that none of the Charlotte players had to play in the game for the exact reason that Messi and Alba didn't want to, right? I mean, it's literally 3 games before you play a league game. You'd have to travel halfway across the country to play in a literal meaningless game. I mean, let's not make it up to be. I mean, Charlotte is hosting it next year, so I don't want to put too much bad juju on it or anything. But at the end of the day, it's not like it counts for anything. And so you're asking these players that are older players, to be fair, to go over, play a meaningless game 3 days before you have another game just to come back over and then get prepared for this game. That's a lot to ask, in my opinion. Yeah. But, it is a rule. And it's not like they made this rule up because of these players. They knew the recourse, if you will, prior to them not going. And so to me, it's still on Miami for not following the rules and not sending the players.
Yeah, of course.
But I completely understand why you wouldn't want to, as the coach, as the manager, or even as the player, because it's like there's not enough time, right? There's already enough games that we're having to play that do matter. So why are you making me play a game that doesn't? I completely understand that. What about you?
No, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat with you in terms of, I think that it is a pointless game, but at the same time, I do think not only as a employee per se of the club, but as an individual of the league, I do think it's more so a respect thing. So I understand the suspension, I do, in terms of why they were suspended completely, and understand why the rule is in place. Yeah. But also, I also get it, if I was their age playing 90 minutes straight all the time,
exactly. I think the easier way to do it would be just to we have this Leagues Cup starting now. Why did we have that one league game in between? Because we played obviously Liga MX for the why would they not just have that lead into the Leagues Cup so that it doesn't interfere with the schedule?
Exactly.
Right?
I think also again, to your point, could have been prepared better in the scheduling sense, that, but that's on the MLS.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, I don't know. I mean, definitely sad to see them not play, but I mean, good for Cincinnati, I guess you could say.
Well, they were the beneficiary of not having those two on the field, no doubt.
Yeah.
But getting back to that game, they were not the beneficiary of the refs in this game. Okay, I mean, I don't see how you can see it any other way than they just got completely screwed. It should have been another patented 1-0 victory for Cincinnati. I think they've had about 17 of those this year. I mean, every time we report the scores, they win 1-0. They absolutely should have won this game 1-0. It was 0-0 very late into the game. Miles Robinson, their defender, went up, great header, scores it, and they disallow it. They said he fouled the guy. I mean, I watched it back probably 15 to 20 times just to make sure I wasn't front. There was absolutely no foul there. I mean, the other guy's grabbing him, if anything, and he kind of started to shield him so he could go up and head it and heads it in. I mean, he does absolutely nothing wrong on that play. I could not believe that they disallowed that goal based on that, but maybe that was just a makeup call for hey, we did suspend your player, but we'll just take a goal off the board for Cincinnati. That's the makeup for it right there is what it felt like. It was so egregious in my opinion. And so if I'm Cincinnati, I'm glad that I didn't have to play against Messi and Alba, but damn, I'm so mad I didn't get that 3 points because they absolutely deserved it in my opinion. But anyway, enough from that game. What else, on the docket out there?
Big 2 games from Friday were the Columbus and Orlando. Columbus won, Orlando 3. Orlando, they're kind of sneaking up the leaderboard a little bit.
We know how good they are. They beat us, it seems like, every time, or at least we drew last time we played them.
Yeah, and Columbus is still such a big powerhouse. I know in our recent match against Columbus, we won. but I mean, even then, so Columbus is still a powerhouse in the Eastern Conference, and then also San Diego, Nashville, another great win by San Diego. I know it's just 1-0, but I mean, San Diego. I just hate to give them as many props, but first year in the league, and Nashville is also a really big powerhouse in the Eastern Conference as well. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. San Diego's really kind of impressing me this year.
They have to.
Yeah, and then games from Saturday, we've got Philly 3, Colorado 1. Philly also a really big powerhouse, still kind of making their stride in the Eastern Conference, and then Atlanta draws with Seattle on Saturday as well. So, I mean,
I think that brings them to like either 5 or 6 straight without a win. Granted, they've tied like 4 of those, but yeah, they're, man, I mean, we have to throw them in there. They're our rival. I have to make sure we at least point them out. But man, I cannot believe how much they are struggling with the amount of talent, or at least paid talent on that field.
I'm with you there in terms of like their roster and what everyone's getting paid. Like they should be leading the Eastern Conference for sure. But I mean, to give some props to Atlanta, I mean Seattle is 4th in the league. I mean, 4th in the Western Conference. So I mean, they're still playing against some good opponents, but again, still on this kind of
can't get it done.
We're not winning, but we were also still losing, so I don't know. It's a weird kind of set to be in.
Just draw after draw.
For sure.
We were on that last year for a little bit. Remember, we drew like 4 straight games that were all 0-0. I don't know if you remember that last year. That was crazy. I think it was the record, if I remember correctly, the most 0-0 games in a row.
I know exactly what you're talking about, because then at that point it just became like, it felt like a chore to go to the Charlotte games. So like,
no goals being scored. Yeah, I remember. We came out that the other side. Moving on to the standings, how that kind of got it all impacted. So you obviously you mentioned San Diego winning 1-0 over Nashville, a very good Nashville team. That keeps them obviously in first place slightly, right? You see the standings right here. Yeah, they are very, very close. 1 point separating them and Vancouver. 1 point separating Vancouver from Minnesota. The Loons, very cool nickname. I didn't realize that was their nickname until recently, I guess. I just never realized it, but Loons, that's a pretty cool nickname, right?
I didn't know that either. And then, I mean, I already said it, but Seattle in 4th. There is a bit of a bigger gap between Minnesota and Seattle.
Yeah.
So
those teams seem to separate. Those first 3, they've kind of separated from the pack a little bit, and then you, like you said, you got Seattle. LAFC still, again, 3 games in hand. They'll jump up, once they make those games up a little bit, but there is a little gap between that top 3. And then kind of moving down to the playoffs, though, as you see, those are a little bit bunched.
Seattle, Colorado, San Jose, and Houston. I mean.
Yeah, all right there together, right? Somewhat within about 3 or 4 points of each other, and obviously only 2 of those teams can make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think that's the battle we're going to look for. I think at least looking at the conference as a whole, again, you see that top 3 that's kind of separated themselves. I do think LAFC will certainly get that 4th spot once they've made up all of their games. So I think the top 4 honestly is a little bit decided in the West at this point. So then we really just want to look at that battle for the playoffs. And again, you got about 4, maybe 5 teams. There was another, I can't remember, I guess you're looking at the list, but the teams right there between like basically 8th, maybe even 7th, all the way down to about 11th, we're all somewhat close. But I think those middle 4 teams are the ones that are really going to battle for those last 2 playoff spots. What about in the East, Abby?
I mean, in the East, we've got Philadelphia leading the pack with about 50 points, but I mean, and there's still Cincinnati trailing by a single point. However, when we
would be in front if they got that goal on Saturday.
Yeah, and then when we get to 3rd and 4th, we've got Nashville and then Columbus, but again, like there's a little bit more separation in terms of the gapping there for points. Nashville at 47, Columbus at 44. So I mean, definitely interesting to see how these next few weeks play out, to see how things end. Charlotte still sitting in 7th, but I think that we've got some time to kind of really bring it back, and hopefully shoot for that potentially 6th place. Definitely don't want to get too ambiguous.
You don't, but I mean, I even wrote it down we are now only 6 points out of 4, right? I mean, Columbus, they've lost a couple recently. I'm not saying we're going to catch up to 4th, because that does take teams in front of us that are good teams, right? I mean, all the teams in front of Charlotte at this point are teams that if you'd come into the year and just said, hey, who's going to be the top teams, the ones in front of us are the ones you would have named, right? So I think this is a case of the cream rising to the top as the season has moved on, and we've seen this. Nashville may be a bit of a surprise. We didn't know they would be this good, but all the other teams out there have been, very good for the last couple of years, so not surprising. But again, only a 6-point gap from 7th place Charlotte to 4th place Columbus right now. So Ashley Westwood said we're still going top 4. That is our goal. So as long as he's saying that, I'll maintain that standard for us as well, right? Is it possible? Again, there's a lot of good teams in front of us. They aren't going to lose a lot of games, so we got to be winning a lot of these to be able to catch up. But I would have said it's completely unthinkable a month ago or even 3 weeks ago, but it's possible now, right? I mean, it seems like it's at least in front of us. 6 points is 2 games at the end of the day. It's not that many. So
I mean, I think now that we've kind of got our offensive side of things a little bit more established, and we do seem to be picking up on the defensive side of things, I think that does make that 4th or 5th a little bit more attainable. Again, don't want to be too ambiguous here with that, but I do think that Charlotte has come a long way in the last, call it even 2 months. So definitely excited to see where they end up in the standings. But don't want to forget Montreal. They're 1 point for being out of last place.
How could we forget Montreal down there? Yeah, we've documented them all year. They won again this past week. I don't think we did that score, but yeah, they won, and they're literally 1 point out of last now. So hey, they're climbing. Them and LA Galaxy, they both got off to that horrendous start, but both have at least found a little bit of level ground since. So good job there. All right, and into our, we'll call it the penultimate segment here. No preview today, by the way, guys. I know that's very sad news. That's everybody's favorite. Wow, no preview, right? Well, we have 2 Leagues Cups games this week. They're both against Mexican sides that, frankly, I don't know a whole lot about, so I don't want to pretend to. And plus, I don't want this video to go like an hour for you guys. So just in the sense of time and respect there, no preview this week. But I did want to go ahead and jump in and kind of explain the Leagues Cup. Again, we are now into that time. First game Thursday. By the time this films, that game would have already happened, right? This will come out, or not films, when it airs, it'll come out. The first game would have already happened. That is against FC Juarez on Thursday, followed by, I think, Guadalupe on Sunday night. So, again, no real previews for those, but let's go back to school. Remember when I did the U.S. Open video a couple, probably months ago at this point? Same thing here, taking you back to school. I'm going to tell you all about, or at least all you need to know about the Leagues Cup real quick. So first and foremost, it is a competition between both the Liga MX, or the Mexican League teams, and the MLS teams. Every single team from the Liga MX does make it, so they only have 18 teams total, so all 18 automatically qualify. In the MLS, obviously there's 30 teams, but only 18 qualify. The qualifiers for the MLS were just the playoff teams from last year, right? So the top 9 from the West, the top 9 from the East are the ones that qualify for this Leagues Cup. There are actually pretty big, prizes on the line, right? I don't know the prize money breakdown, so apologize for that. Obviously, there's a nice big old cup that you win at the end of it, but there's also the top 3 teams, or the top 3 finishers in this competition, get an automatic invite to the CONCACAF Champions League next season. I think that's something Charlotte would love to get a part of or be a part of. So to me, that's reason enough to go try to win this thing, honestly. The rule I think all of you guys are going to love, no draws in these games, right? So there are 0 ties. If the game is tied after 90 minutes, it just goes straight to a shootout or penalty kick shootout. If the game does finish in regulation and there is a winner, obviously that just, 3 points to the winner, 0 points to the loser, just like in the regular season. If it does go to the shootout, The winning team of the shootout gets 2 points. The losing team gets 1 point. So that's kind of how it works. And each MLS team is playing 3 different Liga MX teams throughout, and vice versa. The Liga MX teams will only play MLS teams. The way that happens is both leagues have tiered their teams. So there are 6 teams of 3 different tiers. Follow me, I know it's confusing. So tier 1 is essentially just the top 3 teams from the MLS, both Western and Eastern Conference last year. So if you finished in the top 3 last year in the Eastern or Western Conference, you are the tier 1 team. Congratulations from the MLS. Charlotte is a tier 2 team because we finished in 5th last year. So we are considered a tier 2 team in this competition. And of course, tier 3, if you're following, that would be all the teams from 13th down to 18th. Same with Liga MX. They just take their top 6 teams from last year. That's tier 1. 7 through 12 is tier 2, and 13 through 18 is tier 3. You will be paired up. You will play 3 what you call group stage games. This is where it is a little bit more confusing. It's not the same group for every team, because Charlotte, again, we will play 1 tier 1 Mexican team, 1 tier 2 Mexican team, and 1 tier 3 Mexican team. That's how everybody will play it throughout. So you may not play exactly the same teams, but you're playing at least one of each of those buckets. And even though you're competing against the Liga MX teams, when it comes to who makes the knockout round, you're actually only competing against the MLS. So there will be basically a bracket of all 18 teams. And again, if you win game 1, that's 3 points to your tally. At the end of all 3 games, so once you've played your 3 games, or all the teams have played the 3 games, it's just the top 4 teams from Liga MX and the top 4 teams from the MLS that will move on, and that is based on total amount of points. So again, if you win all 3 games, you get 9 points. You're definitely going to go on to the next round. If you win 1 game and win the shootout in another game and lose the 3rd game, well, that would be, let's do the math real quick, 3 points equals 1 win, 2 points equals a shootout win, 0 points, so that'd be 5 points that you would win. And again, at the end of those 3 matches for all the teams, whoever's in the top 4 is who moves on. You follow that, Gabby? So simple, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I can tell. It was a doozy. Trust me, I stayed up for a while trying to figure this out last night. Actually, I think that's all I had on it, so I hope that kind of made sense. But like I said, once you get to knockout stage, it's very straightforward. The top finisher in the MLS, so the team that finishes with the most points out of anybody through those 3 games is number 1. They will play the 4th place team in Liga MX, and vice versa. The top team in Liga MX will play the 4th place team in MLS. And then it's just 1 game apiece, right? So if you win, you move on. If you lose, you're done. And again, that also, from what I understand, goes straight to a shootout after the 90 minutes. So no extra time in these games, no ties, straight to shootouts is how this will work, which is kind of cool in my opinion. But that's your Leagues Cup 101. I hope it all made sense. The only thing I'm not quite sure on, trust me, I looked it up for a while and could not find an answer, is what if 2 teams, what if 2 teams in 4th place both have 6 points? Who moves forward? I don't know. I haven't figured that part out. There's nothing on the internet that I can find that is telling me that information. So I guess we'll all have to find that out together if it does occur, because it seems pretty likely that at least 2 or 3 teams will be tied in there around that 4th place spot. But all you can really do, if you win all 3, you don't have to worry about it, right? So I think that should be the goal. I think the cool thing about this tournament, beyond just, hey, we get to, play a different league and see how it goes, kind of head to head there, is the fact that you really have no incentive to play for a draw, right? I mean, you're not going to anyway. There's going to be a shootout at the end of it. So I think the thing that you could see from this tournament are more goals than you may see in like a regular season MLS game, just because there's really no benefit to tie in a game here, right? So I think you'll see teams go for it. They might lose 5-0, but who cares, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter how much you're losing by, how much you're winning by. It just matters that you win or that you lose to get the most amount of points. So I do think it'll be a little bit more open than what you usually see week to week in the MLS. Predictions, right? I didn't preview these games just because, well, I just explained that. So we just go straight into predictions. And really, this is a pretty open-ended predictions page. So, Gabby, what do you want to see from this Leagues Cup? Anything or any hey, this is going to happen or that's going to happen or this is what I'd like to see? Just kind of open the floor.
I mean, I guess I would like to see us win.
Well, that's a start. I did put on my list 6 points in the next 2 games. So, yeah, like I said, over these. By the way, the 3rd game will happen next week. We're not going to even. So I'm just talking about the first 2 games here. But anyway, yeah, you were saying?
Yeah. I mean, I would love to see us win as many games as possible. But no, I also want to see our guys be challenged, truly, and then also just want to see us play really well. I mean, we've got a lot of these games at home, so we'd like to see how that kind of fares out.
Yeah, all 3 of the obviously group stage games are at home, which is fantastic. Yeah. Keeps me busy, which is not a bad thing when it comes to Charlotte FC. Yeah, like you, obviously, I want to see us win. I was trying to. I think if we are going to move forward in this tournament, again, only 4 out of 18 teams are going to make it to the next round, which is very few. So I'm really thinking you've got to have a minimum of probably at least 7 points to move on, which would equate to 2 wins and 1, kind of draw / overtime loss. It may not even be good enough with 7 points. You may need 8 points or 9 points to move on. I really don't know. Like I said, we'll all find out together because this is the first year they've done this particular format. So it is interesting, but it's going to take a lot. I mean, like I said, it's going to take 7, 8 points, no doubt, in my opinion, to be able to move forward to the knockout stage. So, yeah, my prediction or what I'd like to see from these first 2 games, 6 points. We are playing the Tier 3 team first. That is your preview, I guess. So, Juarez is the Tier 3 team. They're supposedly the worst of the 3 that we'll play. And it gets progressively harder. Guadalupe is the 2nd hardest, and then Monterrey is the Tier 1 team that we will play next week. So we'll see if that's how it actually holds. Again, these are just based on standings from last year, so hard, take that with a grain of salt. Really what I want to see from the tournament is goals. I had mentioned it even in the preview, right? Not that we aren't scoring goals. We're scoring 2-3 goals a game right now, which really is gracious plenty, but just, I guess, not goals, chances created. Be open, be positive, be aggressive, right? I mean, again, I don't want us to give up goals, don't get me wrong, but I think it's okay in a tournament like this to test yourself, to be a little bit more risky than maybe you would be in a regular season game and see how it goes. If we give up 2-3 goals and lose, okay, well, we're not moving forward anyway. We weren't going, so who cares, right? I just think it's a tournament that asks you to go for broke to a certain degree. So play it that way. Go out, be aggressive, try to win on your terms. That's the way I would like it to be played by Charlotte. I don't want them to completely overhaul what they've been doing. What they've been doing is working, so stick to it to a certain degree, but just with a little bit more oomph behind it, I guess is what I would say. So that's really all I have for it. Do you have anything else to add?
I don't think so. Just want to see the guys again go for goals, and just I'm excited to see kind of how the games are, though, just overall.
Yeah, see if there's a little bit more pace in them or less pace. I really don't know what to expect any more than anybody else would. So it's going to be a wait and see and enjoy type night. But we're looking forward to it. Again, that's coming up this week. That's all we have. That's a wrap on Charlotte for the week. We appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next week for the crown.